The 2-year-old baby keeps pointing at his father's coffin. What happens next is shocking. On the day of Samuel's funeral, the sky was thick with heavy clouds, casting everything beneath it in a somber, misty gray. The rain fell steadily, each drop blending into the surrounding silence, deepening the oppressive sense of sorrow. Around the grave, Samuel's family, friends, and acquaintances stood in mourning, their grief too immense to contain as they said their final goodbyes to a devoted husband and father. Samuel, the unwavering pillar of his family, now lay motionless within the wooden coffin, as though life itself had been buried alongside him. His passing had been abrupt, without the slightest warning. A severe traffic accident had claimed his life, leaving behind a sea of unanswered questions and an irreplaceable void. Clara, his beloved wife, struggled to maintain her composure, forcing herself to wipe away her tears. But deep within her, the agony of loss was unbearable. Everything unfolded like an inescapable nightmare, until something occurred that changed the atmosphere of the funeral entirely, turning it into something suffocatingly tense. Lucy, Samuel's 2-year-old daughter, had been standing quietly beside the coffin, her innocent eyes locked onto it with an unshakable focus. Then, in a voice that was both childlike and unsettlingly firm, she pointed at the coffin and declared, "My dad is still alive. My dad is calling for help." The words, though spoken softly, cut through the air like a thunderclap, shattering the silence. Every gaze immediately turned toward Clara, their expressions filled with a mixture of confusion and unease, as if silently pleading for an explanation. At first, Clara dismissed it as nothing more than a child's innocent misunderstanding, an inability to grasp the permanence of death. But when she met Lucy's unwavering gaze, something inside her shifted. The little girl didn't appear confused or afraid. Rather, her eyes gleamed with an inexplicable certainty. A creeping doubt took hold of Clara's heart. As she stood there, torn between the overwhelming grief of losing Samuel and the unsettling words of her daughter, an eerie feeling settled over her. Details she had previously ignored now seemed disturbingly significant. Could Lucy's words truly be a coincidence? Or was there something more, something that had been overlooked? The conflict within Clara deepened. She felt trapped in an invisible web of uncertainty, where every fleeting thought led to yet another unanswered question. If Lucy was right, then what had really happened to Samuel? And more terrifyingly, was the truth lurking somewhere in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? After Samuel's death, Clara's life descended into chaos. The sorrow of losing him had not yet faded when strange occurrences began to unfold, making it impossible for her to stay at ease. One of the things that unsettled Clara the most was the behavior of Henry, Samuel's cousin. In the days following the funeral, Henry appeared to be the most concerned about the family's well-being, but his attentiveness seemed excessive, especially when it came to Samuel's possessions. Henry persistently urged Clara to sell the family house, the very home filled with memories of Samuel and their life together. "The house is too big for you to maintain alone. We need money to clear the debts, and selling the house is the only way to resolve everything," Henry insisted, his expression one of concern, but his eyes revealing an unmistakable urgency. Clara understood the financial struggles they faced, yet something about Henry's persistence unsettled her. His frequent mentions of Samuel's wealth planted a nagging suspicion in her mind. Were his intentions truly as noble as he claimed? Her unease only deepened when a seemingly casual conversation took an unexpected turn. One day, a friend of Clara's casually suggested that they consider opening the coffin to examine Samuel's body, just to verify that nothing unusual had been overlooked regarding his death. The comment was meant as nothing more than speculation, but Henry's reaction was immediate and severe. He panicked. His response was almost frantic. "No, we can't do that." His voice was sharp, his breathing uneven. "It will only make things worse. Samuel has found peace. We shouldn't disturb him anymore." A cold shiver ran down Clara's spine at Henry's outburst. Why was he so afraid? His reaction wasn't just one of discomfort, it was one of outright terror. That single moment only reinforced the doubts gnawing at her. If there was nothing to hide, why was Henry so adamant against it? Suspicion took root in Clara's mind like a seed of doubt she could no longer ignore. It was as though she had unknowingly stepped into a labyrinth where every turn led to more unsettling questions. Did Samuel truly die in a traffic accident? Or was there something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface? Clara knew she could no longer endure living in this darkness. She had to uncover the truth. Every night, Clara lies in her quiet room, trying to catch some sleep after long, exhausting days. But instead of drifting into peaceful rest, she is disturbed by strange sounds. It isn't the howling of the wind or the creaking of old furniture, but something far more unsettling. Small, eerie noises like soft footsteps or whispers emerging from the darkness. These sounds seem to originate from Samuel's very coffin, filling Clara with an unshakable fear. One night, as she lay motionless in bed, her body tense and her ears straining to listen, the sound returned. This time, it was clearer than ever, a faint but distinct knocking, as if someone were tapping from inside a coffin lid. Clara sat up abruptly, her heart pounding, her gaze locked on the bedroom door, terrified that something might step inside. But there was nothing, only the suffocating darkness pressing in from all sides. She couldn't understand. Was she merely being haunted by grief, or was this something real? At the same time, Lucy continued speaking of strange things about her father. The little girl, though only 2 years old, repeatedly uttered words that Clara could neither comprehend nor explain. One afternoon, while Clara was preparing dinner in the kitchen, Lucy approached her and whispered, "Mom, Dad says he's calling for help." The child's voice was soft yet chillingly certain. "Dad says he's still alive, but he can't get out." Clara spun around to look at her daughter, her heart tightening with unease. Lucy's innocent face showed no trace of fear or doubt. She simply continued speaking, as if unaware of how disturbing her words were. "Dad told me that only you could help him escape." A cold shiver ran down Clara's spine. She knew Lucy was just a child, but the things she described were too precise, too eerily accurate to ignore. Lucy spoke of details about Samuel that only he would have known. Family secrets, private memories that a 2-year-old could never possibly understand. How could Lucy know these things? Unless something unexplainable was happening. Confusion surged within Clara. She couldn't simply dismiss her daughter's words, yet the idea that Samuel might still be alive was beyond reason. Was this all just the result of her overwhelming grief? Or was there something far more terrifying at play, something she could not yet fathom? Clara felt as though she were standing at a crossroads from which there was no turning back. The truth she sought was just out of reach, hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. The feeling of unease in Clara's heart grew stronger every time she faced Henry. At first, he still maintained a friendly appearance, always seeming concerned, but something was off. Whenever Clara skillfully mentioned Samuel's death, Henry would become awkward, as if a shadow was entangled in his mind. He turned away, sighed, and immediately switched to other topics, hastily changing the subject. That gesture made Clara feel an inexplicable tension, as if he were trying to hide something. One time, when Clara accidentally saw Henry's expression darken at the mention of opening Samuel's coffin, she couldn't help but wonder, why was he afraid? If Samuel had truly died in an accident, then what would be so frightening about opening the coffin to confirm? Yet, Henry's attitude suggested that there was something he desperately wanted to keep hidden. Clara began to review the events surrounding Samuel's death. The traffic accident, according to the police, seemed quite straightforward. However, with everything she had observed in the past few days, the unsettling feeling in her heart refused to fade. Samuel's death had been too sudden, too abrupt, with no prior indications that he had encountered any serious problems. Lucy's words, the strange sounds at night, and Henry's abrupt change in demeanor all gradually formed a picture Clara could not ignore. She started to reassess her relationship with Henry. Every time she probed for details about that day, he would evade her questions, offering only brief responses as if he were deliberately avoiding the subject. Once, she even caught him standing by the window, peering outside with a tense expression, as though he were keeping watch for something. The feeling that washed over Clara in that moment was unmistakable, the unmistakable sensation of someone hiding the truth. All these details made it impossible for Clara to simply accept what everyone had told her. She began to believe that Samuel's death was not the accident it had been officially recorded as. Perhaps it was part of a conspiracy. But if so, where did this conspiracy originate? Why did Henry's behavior seem so suspicious? Clara was determined to uncover the truth, even if it meant confronting things she had never dared to imagine. Clara felt her heart pounding in her chest as she decided to do what she had feared for so long. Although her heart was constantly worried about what might happen, her love and concern for Samuel drove her to not hesitate any longer. She knew that if she didn't do this, she would never find the answer and would forever live in doubt. When Clara stood beside the coffin, the atmosphere at the funeral seemed to become eerily silent. Everyone, including Henry, was watching her, a heavy silence enveloping the scene. The atmosphere was so tense that everyone could feel the excitement and anxiety surrounding them. Clara took a deep breath, then began to remove the coffin lid. Everything in that moment seemed to slow down, and in her heart, there was only one thought left. I have to do this for Samuel. When the final coffin lid was opened, the sight before Clara made her choke up. In the coffin, Samuel, the husband, the father whom she thought had left forever, was still lying there, but not in the usual state of a deceased person. His face was pale, his lips dry, and his whole body seemed motionless. It felt like a shadow of Samuel was lying there, but with lifeless eyes, as if he had departed from the earthly realm. The entire funeral suddenly turned into chaos. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes. People were buzzing, whispers filled the air. Is he still alive? A woman whispered, covering her mouth with her hand. Henry, the one standing closest, suddenly turned pale, his face no longer exuding the usual confidence, but instead a bewildered expression full of fear. Clara, in a daze, rushed to Samuel's side, feeling his weak breath. After a while, she realized that this was not death, but a miraculous survival. Samuel hadn't died. He had been given a strong anesthetic and had fallen into a deep coma. His body had an extreme reaction to the drug, leading to a severe allergic response that put him in a state of near death. Everything made Clara feel like she had just stepped into a nightmare where nothing made sense. Henry took a step back, his face a mix of confusion and fear. Clara sensed something ominous in his eyes. The first question that she couldn't help but ask herself was, if Samuel is not dead, then why is Henry trying to prevent the examination of the coffin? The truth was gradually becoming clearer, and Clara knew that she had only scratched the surface of a much deeper secret. Clara stood frozen next to Samuel, her mind swirling with conflicting thoughts. The scene before her made it hard for her to believe what she had just discovered. At this moment, Clara had only one question in her mind. Why did Henry do this? She turned back to look at Henry, who was standing back, his eyes clearly showing fear. Clara had no doubt anymore. Henry was the one pulling the strings behind it all. The pieces were gradually falling into place in her mind, making everything clear. Henry plotted to kill Samuel to seize the family's fortune. Samuel's death was not an accident, but a cruelly orchestrated plot. Henry took advantage of a strong anesthetic, injecting it into Samuel while he was unaware. Later, he secretly forged a death certificate to cover up all traces, making everyone believe that Samuel was dead. When the truth came out, Clara felt like she was hit by a powerful shock. She couldn't understand how her husband's cousin, whom she had once considered a close relative, could do such a thing. The love and trust that Clara had for Henry had now shattered like a broken mirror. But as soon as Clara saw Samuel, although weak, still alive, she realized that the love she had for him, along with the determination of Lucy, their beloved daughter, had helped them overcome everything. Lucy, although only 2 years old, seemed to have led Clara onto the right path of truth with her words. The little girl always insisted that her father was not dead. that he was calling for help from inside the coffin. The strange details that Lucy described about Samuel could only be memories that only Samuel knew. It was the girl's keen perception that opened the door to the truth, helping Clara uncover the dark plot that Henry had devised. With Lucy's help, Clara dared to face her fears and increasingly realized that she was not alone in this battle. Clara's decisive actions thwarted Henry's plans. He never expected that a mother's love and the power of belief in the truth could overcome his deceit and wicked schemes. Lucy's strange ability gradually became clearer in tense situations, when unexpected events began to happen around her. Clara noticed that whenever something was wrong, Lucy acted differently. The girl was not just an innocent child. Lucy's eyes always lit up strangely, as if she could see things that others could not. In the past, Clara thought it was just a child's game, but now she is starting to doubt. On a stormy evening, as Clara was sitting in the living room, she heard soft whispers, words that could not have come from anyone in the house. Clara turned to look at Lucy, only to see the girl sitting in a daze, her eyes staring blankly into the void ahead. "Lucy, what are you doing?" Clara asked, her voice full of worry. Lucy turned back to look at her mother, and in the girl's clear eyes a strange light flickered. "Mom, Dad wants you to know something. Dad said he didn't want you to be sad. He said he always loved Mom," Lucy whispered, each word seeming to come from a very distant place, not from a 2-year-old child. Clara was stunned. She couldn't understand how Lucy could know these things, because Samuel had never said those words to her before he left. Those were the deep emotions that Samuel had not yet expressed, things that could only come from the soul of the departed. Every time, Lucy would recount detailed stories about moments in the past that only Samuel knew. The girl recounted the nights he stayed up late working, the small remarks that Clara once thought were insignificant, but now seemed meaningful. And once, Lucy recounted a painful moment that Samuel experienced in his final hours, when he had been sedated and felt himself gradually losing consciousness. Lucy's words were not a coincidence. They were like a warning, a sign from another world. They horrified Clara, for she knew that Samuel's soul could not yet rest. Samuel is still wandering, unable to leave the earthly realm due to the pain and resentment that have not yet been released. And those souls, it seems, have their own way of communicating with the living. Clara couldn't stop thinking about this. Could it be a sign that Samuel was sending to her? She didn't know what to do, but she understood that now their lives had completely changed. Since that moment, Clara has felt Samuel's presence around her, not only through Lucy's words, but also in the small details, the fleeting sounds, or sometimes a sudden cold breeze. These phenomena were no longer coincidences, but an indispensable part of their lives, like a reminder that Samuel's spirit was still beside them, protecting and watching over them. Lucy is not only the bridge between Clara and Samuel's spirit, but also the key to unlocking the secrets that Clara has been unable to understand for so long. The girl's dreams, though strange and unbelievable, are actually important clues, untold stories from the afterlife. Every night, Clara dreams of vague images and strange conversations that she cannot explain. In a particularly vivid dream, Lucy stood beside her bed, her eyes shining as if she were seeing something beyond the reach of ordinary people. "Mom, Dad said he couldn't say goodbye. He is in so much pain. He tried to tell everyone, but no one listened," Lucy whispered, her voice as gentle as the wind. "Dad said Henry gave him something to drink. He couldn't move, but he was still alive." Clara woke up with a shiver, feeling as if someone was standing right next to her. Lucy's words were like a splash of cold water, waking her up in the dark of night. Clara understood that there was something more serious than she had imagined. Samuel did not die from an accident, as everyone thought. He was poisoned, and those details can only be revealed through the innocent eyes of a child. The next day, Clara decided she could no longer remain silent. She sought out Samuel's close friends, those who had witnessed the strange changes in him after the accident. But all they had were vague explanations. No one could provide Clara with any truly valuable information. But what Lucy said still echoed in her mind. Henry gave him something to drink. A sense of unease and anxiety surged within Clara, but she wouldn't allow herself to be afraid. If there really is a conspiracy, she must do everything she can to bring the truth to light, to protect the husband she has always loved. Clara returned to the warehouse where Samuel had once left his documents and work notes. She searched every nook and cranny until she found an old notebook that Samuel always carried with him. In it, there were notes, some things that Clara couldn't help but notice. Henry injected me with a sedative. I saw it. I know he didn't want me to wake up. When Clara looked at those lines, a wave of anger surged within her. Everything has become clear. Samuel did not die of natural causes, and everything Henry did was part of a plot to seize the family's fortune. What Clara had sensed through Lucy's words has now been confirmed, and that has made her unable to stand still for another second. Lucy, with her strange ability, not only helped Clara understand the truth about Samuel's death, but also showed her the way to confront the person who caused this tragedy. Clara knew that, no matter who she faced, she would never give up, because she had the love and sacrifice of Samuel along with an indomitable strength, the strength of righteousness. The tense confrontation with Henry took place in the heavy atmosphere of the truth gradually being revealed. Clara was no longer the weak wife standing in the shadow of loss, but a determined woman ready to fight to protect her family. With the help of friends and family, Clara gradually uncovered the dark conspiracy that Henry had painstakingly hidden. One evening, when all the evidence had been gathered and the truth was undeniable, Clara led a group of people to confront Henry directly. In front of many witnesses, from the documents Samuel had left behind to Lucy's testimony and the evidence in the investigation, Henry could not justify his actions. He had no way out. The tense situation reached its peak when Henry, with a face full of fear and a clear awareness of the price to pay, was finally captured. A faint smile crossed Clara's lips, though painful. It was a victory of perseverance and courage. The battle between Clara and Henry is not just a legal confrontation, but also an uncompromising struggle between justice and greed. Clara is not only fighting for Samuel's life, but also fighting to protect the values they have built over the years. The price of truth is sometimes paid with pain, but it is also something unavoidable. When Samuel woke up after those long months of coma, Clara's heart felt like it would burst with happiness. Although his body was still weak and needed time to recover, the way he looked at Clara and Lucy was filled with love and gratitude. The pain has passed, and now their family is reunited, stronger than ever. The story ends with an emotional scene as Samuel returns home, welcomed with warm hugs and smiles from his wife and children. The family has healed the wounds in their souls, and although the difficulties ahead still remain, they know that with love and resilience, they will overcome all challenges. The message conveyed by the story is clear and powerful. Family love is not only a solid strength to overcome difficulties, but also a source of motivation to fight for justice and what is right. Clara and Samuel, with their unwavering faith in each other, have proven that no matter how difficult life may be, as long as there is faith in justice and love, any challenge can be overcome. Family love is an infinite source of strength that can change everything. Clara, the resilient mother, never gave up on her journey to uncover the truth and protect her loved ones. Even when everything seemed lost, even when hope appeared to have faded, her love for Samuel and Lucy remained the guiding flame, helping her overcome all hardships. A mother's love, a family's love, is a solid foundation for each individual to face challenges and fight for noble values. Greed is a double-edged sword that can destroy not only the greedy person themselves, but also everyone around them. Henry, driven by the ambition to seize the family's wealth, did not hesitate to hurt those he called his closest. However, although greed can lead people to fall, be ruthless, in the end, justice remains the only light that cannot be obscured. Wrongdoings will ultimately be exposed, and the wicked will have to face the consequences. No matter how many conspiracies there are, the truth will eventually be revealed. Clara and Lucy have shown that nothing can be hidden forever, whether it be dark secrets or lies. Through all the challenges, the story proves that the truth, no matter how painful and hard to accept, always has the power to liberate. Those who dare to face the truth despite fear and pain will find the path leading to light and justice. In this story, love, perseverance, and the refusal to give up have triumphed, and in the end, justice has been served. The story of Clara, Samuel, and Lucy is a testament to the power of unity, loyalty, and faith in the core values that each of us should uphold.